everyone, and welcome back to Wednesday here on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your host, Eric. This week we are talking about a foretold path. So this week our topic comes to us from Gym Sim 3. And I apologize for holding my notes, but there are things that I want to cover here in specific, so I'm going to hold on to them. I'm going to read this to you in its entirety, just so that I can kind of explain what the question is and get some of the references out while I'm at it. He writes, I was just wondering about something. In your videos you mentioned following a path. That's to say the path has already been foretold, and yet the pagan path is not straightforward. Very true. But this has been rerouted here, has been rerouted here and there. First, there's the Brythonic and Gaelic, which Brythonic is the British version of the Celtic-speaking religion, and Goidelic, excuse me, my pronunciation is terrible, and I'm trying to read without my glasses, is the Celtic-speaking religions, other various places, the islands surrounding the island of Great Britain and whatnot. So, the branch of Gaelic and Brythonic, and then the European and North African, which is more classical in their sense, and that would be any of the Proto-European religions, and also the in North African, I think they mean something akin to the Egyptian understanding of the religion. Then there's the Saunders and the Gardnerian, and now OBOD. For those of you who don't know, OBOD is the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. It's a druidic thing, also occasionally referred to as Celtic Druidry. Then there's the Native Tribal, and so on. So where do we think most American pagans find their center? Is it just enough to be? Well, there are lots of things that I want to cover on that. So first of all is, in my opinion, a lot of the religious precepts and ideas, especially when it comes down to ideals and how to act and what kind of person to be, are really completely beyond any singular religious sect, and they're kind of transcendental. They cover and span all of the different types of religion. When you're talking about, the greater laws of religious and spiritual practice, one of the biggest things boils down to basically the golden rule. Don't be a dick. And, be kind to your fellow man and do your best to make the people around you feel welcome and equal. There are, in my understanding, no actual beliefs that base themselves in the religion itself that make you, or that should make you believe that you need to be better than someone, or should feel that you're better than someone else. That's one of the things that I find exceedingly beautiful about paganism in general, is more often than not, and especially with the majority of the people that I've encountered in my studies and in my seeking out, the spiritual people of the pagan community, not only locally but here on YouTube and everywhere else, they're usually very accepting and very open and understanding and willing to share, and they don't believe most of the time. I mean, there are exceptions to every rule, but most of the time, the pagan people that I meet are more than willing to say, oh, that's awesome for you. This is what I believe. They don't make any pretense that this is better than what you believe. So that's one of the most beautiful things about paganism and the pagan community. So, in a matter of speaking, I don't think the path that you take, I don't think it matters where it comes from, because that idea of being a good person transcends all of it. So I just want to get that out of the way very first. So the second part I want to touch on is the native tribal, as opposed to some of the older, more classical uh, religious types, as opposed to Gardnerian or Saunders or just Wicca in general, or the Dianic faiths or anything else. Well, I understand that it's often difficult to meld together belief systems, and or to decide that one belief system is better for you as opposed to another, because we have no physical tie to the land it comes from. I mean, outside of if you're viewing genetic makeup and ancestral heritage as a connector. If you were born in America, you are an American. If you were born in America from a group of people that is not Native American, then you are a something else American. Whether that be Indo-European American, Anglo-Saxon American, African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, doesn't really matter. You're still an American. And your heritage may or may not, it depends on the person, may or may not give you draw to a specific area or sect that was established on a different continent. Just because it was established in Ireland doesn't mean that it doesn't hold sway for the people in America. I really liked what Annie was saying about her conversation with the English gentleman that she's circled with or has been studying with, or however she put it, that it wasn't so much that he felt disconnected to the land as opposed to it just had a different feeling, and there was less connection because of the I didn't grow up here, therefore I don't innately understand how the land works. And I think that's really, there's something definitely to say about that. That if I didn't grow up in the place that, if I was not raised in the place that I have been attempting to practice, like for example, if I were to go back to Scotland or back to Norway, or try and visit all of the holy places in Europe, I would probably feel a deep spiritual connection with those places. However, I would not feel a deep physical connection with those places, because they are not the places that I have spent my time and my learning period practicing in and communing with. If I were to go up into the Ochre Mountains, which I have done on several occasions, because they are very near to where I live, I can go up there and I can tell you exactly what trees are helpful for what energy, what streams have brought to our ritual when we do ritual in or near those streams. I could go to the Uinta Mountains and do the same thing, because we do spend a lot of time as a pagan community, and just myself and my family, we like to go camping in the mountains. We like to do ritual in the mountains because we love those wild places. If somebody from out of town were to come in, and not just from across the pond, I'm talking just from out of town, a different ecosystem away, they would feel differently than I do about the places that we take them that we consider spiritual. So as to the idea of whether or not you can connect with a religious practice, or a spiritual practice rather, in a different place than its origin, I don't see that there would be any problem whatsoever. The only thing that I could say would be, you may find yourself wanting to go back to that place that it was originated, or in the general area of, where it was originated from, just so that you could see and feel those places. That's not to say that you can't make or recreate those places where you live. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about was how do we find the center? Where do we think most American pagans find their center stone, and where does it come from? Okay, this I am going to differ very slightly from Annie, as it is Tuesday evening. I have not yet seen Kara's video, so if you haven't watched that, go back and watch both those videos. They're fantastic. Anyway, where do we find our center stone, and where does it come from? I think when you're talking about belief, your center stone, so to speak, and I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that specifically, but I'm going to take a stab at it and guess you're talking about your spiritual center. Where does it come from? Does it come from ancestry, the land around you? Does it come from yourself? Where does your spirit, does it come from the gods? Where does your spirituality stem from? In my opinion, and this is of course just my opinion, that's why you watch these videos, but in my opinion, your center stone, that which holds your belief solid, comes from you. You may get parts of it from the land around you. You may get parts of it from the gods you understand and the deity you believe in. You may get parts of it from your genetic ancestry, or even your accepted ancestry, because not all genetics are, or not all ancestry has to be genetic, in my opinion. But generally speaking, when you're talking about the majority of a central grounding foundation of spirituality, it comes from the self. It comes from your belief. If I believe something, it is. Just because it's not true and it's not fact doesn't mean it's not true. I know that sounded kind of convoluted. Just because something is not fact does not mean it can't be true. So when I believe something, it becomes my truth. And when that belief is solid enough that I refuse to allow it to waver, that belief becomes my grounding stone and the center of my belief and my practice more often than not. So that's really what I wanted to touch on with that, is where does it come from? It comes from all over the place, mostly centered on the self. It is you and your decision and your belief that grounds you to becoming who you are, both spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It really does center on the self. So, this is my video for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a hard time getting all my words out, but thanks for listening anyway. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to post them in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching, and of course, until next time, Odin be with you.